Tony Gerdeman on the line, talking Ohio State football from theozone.net. Please join him there. Support my channel by going to Patreon, also grabbing one of the Amazon links you see below and shopping at Amazon. Got the NFL Combine coming up. Got 10 Buckeyes there. Obviously, scarlet and gray all over the field there in Indianapolis each and every February and March at the Combine. Are there any particular storylines here or guys that you think are more intriguing to see how they'll perform rather than other guys?
Well, there's a couple answers there. I'm glad that Nick Bosa is healthy enough to be able to do everything and that he's going to do everything. And I'm happy that Dwayne Haskins is going to throw the ball. I mean, that's what the number one quarterback should do. What I'm interested in seeing is what the receivers end up doing. You know, Terry McLaurin had a great Senior Bowl week. I mean, he was a late add to the Senior Bowl, ended up being one of the top 2 receivers there. He's an athlete. He's fast. I'm interested to see how he times, how he jumps, how he moves up the boards based on that, and also his interviews. Parris Campbell is a guy who takes it personally when people don't believe how fast he is, and how when he sees websites rank the fastest players in college football and he's not on it. At one point this season, there was a tweet from someplace listing the college football's fastest players, and I don't know if he wasn't on it or was like dead last or whatever, and he had a t-shirt printed up with that graphic on it, and was wearing it to interviews one day. So this is a guy, Kendall Sheffield, a cornerback at Ohio State, also ran track for Ohio State, set the indoor school record in the 60 meters. And I asked Parris Campbell, who is faster than you two? And he almost took offense to it because he just doesn't like to be doubted as to how fast he is. So I want to see how fast he is. Does he run under a 4.4? And he's another guy that's going to time well. He'll be 6'1", probably over 200 pounds, unless he's dropped weight to be faster. His big thing will be how well he catches the ball. And I keep thinking about when the receivers run across the field and they're doing this and catching all these footballs flying at him, how well does he do in that? I think that's not his forte. And so if he can nail that would let people know that he has been working on that, which he has, but you still have to show it. He didn't get the ball deep as much this year, so we'll see how he does there. But I'm interested to see how those receivers do for sure.
The one thing that the NFL has not thought through in regards to that drill, and it just hit me just now as you were turning from side to side, are those guys really catching and securing the ball and making a football move before they drop it to the ground? Are those even catches?
You're right. You know what? They might have to revisit that because there are no football moves in that. It's a split second, and then they're just unless this, this is the football move as they drop it. But you make a good point. Write a letter.
Tony Gerdeman on the line from the Ozone, talking Ohio State football as the Buckeyes. Some of them have moved on to the NFL round of preparation for the NFL draft, and others obviously still in Columbus playing for the Big Ten champions, number 3 team in the country at 13-1. One other thing, Tony, as we head towards spring practice 1 week away, just kind of your overview of, as you approach it, obviously news is going to break, news is going to come out. People are unfortunately going to get nicked up, and that becomes the news. But as you start out, what are you thinking about, and what's going to catch your eye, or what are you looking for initially?
Well, with Ryan Day taking over, the entire Ohio State beat is hoping for more access to practice. Let us watch more than 15 minutes, please. So that I'm looking for the 16th minute mostly. Can we watch beyond the initial stretching? So, but other than that, obviously it starts at quarterback. You want to see how Justin Fields and Matthew Baldwin do. But then there's also the possibility of a scheme change defensively, more to like what Michigan does in terms of a hybrid linebacker. So there's interest in seeing what that looks like. If that's happening, are they moving in a safety to be that linebacker? And is it, starting safety like Brendan White, which then alters the entire secondary? How do you move all of these parts around him? So things like that. And then also for me, I think the biggest question is the linebackers, because I know they were not good last year. They weren't great the year before, but these can't all be recruiting misses. So I want to see the linebackers without Bill Davis, the linebackers coach there. He's gone. Greg Schiano, defensive coordinator, is gone. I want to see these linebackers with a clean slate. Let them play in a system that allows them to do what they do best, rather than trying to, all of these square pegs and round holes. And when I don't know if I mentioned this on the show, when Bill Davis gave his final goodbye speech to his linebackers as he was leaving and moving on to the NFL, he told his guys that you'll never play in a more complicated defense than this. And these are college guys, playing in a defense that was unnecessarily complicated. And I wrote a couple of days ago that Greg Schiano, as the defensive coordinator, had no positions to coach. So maybe he had too much time on his hands throughout the week, and he's devising all of these bells and whistles that the defense could do, rather than just keeping things simple. Because each of the last 2 years, towards the second half of the season, he would have to simplify things because it wasn't working. So he was asking guys to do too much, asking them to do things they couldn't. So he had to simplify it. Things got a little bit better. It didn't really get better last year, even though we talked like they did, or they talked like they did. They still, you're giving up 51 points to Maryland. Let's slow down on, things are getting better. So I want to see the linebackers with a clean slate. There's a ton of guys there. They can't all be average.
So recruiting arguably the best players in the country, and then asking them to play in a complicated defense where they can't just, run on instincts, and then letting them know that they might be playing in a more complicated defense than they will when they get to the next level, even.
Yeah, and now you see why Greg Schiano goes to the NFL, where he can go ahead and do what he wants to do when players have 80 hours a week to devote to it, rather than 20 hours a week in college and in practice and film study and things like that. You're asking too much of guys, and you saw the results. When any little mistake and the guy has gone 90 yards, that's not a great scheme.
Tony Gerdeman from the Ozone, theozone.net. Please join him, the rest of the staff right there, for Ohio State football coverage that ranks right up near the top. Tony, we appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully we can have you back soon and we can start breaking down some positional units.
Absolutely. It's spring football is 1 week away, and time to start talking about that, rather than maybe like the Heisman or the Lozman, all of that good stuff.